Bangkok, like the legendary phoenix, was born from the fire that destroyed Ayutthaya in 1872. The ruins of the ancient capital are now an outdoor museum, petrified into timelessness, while the new capital tries to maintain traditions and meet the challenges of the 21st century at the same time. Originally, Bangkok is the city with the longest name in the world. The locals still use the abbreviated version of that name, Krung Thep. It means the same thing as Los Angeles, that is, City of Angels. Every seventh Thai resident lives in the capital. The main artery of the metropolis, with a population of 8 million, is the river Cho Praya. In the river bend lies Thornburit, that used to be the center of the city. The view from the observation deck on the 84th floor of the Bangkok Sky Tower makes you feel as if you were aboard a sightseeing flight at an altitude of over 300 meters. The image of the city is defined by buses, mopeds, cabs, and tuk-tuks, the three-wheeled motorized vehicles specific to Bangkok, the reincarnation of rickshaws. It's unbelievable how many tall skyscrapers have been built on the formerly swampy ground, now used as office buildings, shopping malls, or hotels. Thai people are very social and like to live their everyday life in the whirl of the street. That's why the various street food stands are also very popular all over the country. The people living here have not given up their serene outlook on life and their laid-back nature even in this huge metropolis. Their open and friendly nature is a decisive experience for tourists visiting this place. Today, the city that spreads out over a 1,600 square kilometer area is woven by a web of not only canals, but also highways built on stilts in an unsuccessful attempt to decrease the crowded traffic of the roads. The monasteries and temples surrounded by high walls are islands of peace in this chaotic place. The brilliant and colorful masterpieces of Buddhist architecture provide exotic features in the eclectic face of Bangkok. Visitors enter the fairy tale-like world of ancient Siam in the enormous complex of the Royal Palace, the Grand Palace. The main entrance is guarded by 6-meter-tall demons with a monster head and a human body. The colorful and glittering sculptures holding the broadswords are included in every travel guide or brochure on Thailand. These are just as characteristic as the Buddhist temples, the uniquely roofed glimmering vats guarded by them. The covered colonnade surrounding the temple is decorated with scenes from the Ramayana. This is the Thai version of the famous Hindu legendary epic, the Ramayana, which, with minor variations, is known in all the neighboring countries. It's a complicated story of adventure about Sita, the beautiful wife of King Rama, who was kidnapped by a brutal demon king, but is eventually saved by the help of Hanuman, the wily monkey god. This is only one of the numerous scenes depicted by the large frescoes. The Ramayana inspired the art of dance as well. In the spectacular 6 to 8 hour shows called Kon, the dancers, wearing costumes of animals, demons, and monsters, perform many scenes from the epic. The believers in Buddhism come here again and again to light candles and incense, to offer presents to their God, and to pray. The curriculum of local schools requires thorough knowledge of the royal palace and the temples. Foreigners are amazed by the architecture of the spectacular monasteries with their bountiful colors and details. It's amazing if you think about how many artisans' patient work was needed for just a single column or window frame. The decorations made of mirror pieces and gold flakes are coated with a fine layer of glass, which gives them their unique shimmer. The most sacred Buddha of Thailand is the merely 75-centimeter tall Emerald Buddha displayed at the Wat Phra Kaeo. Despite its name, it was carved from jade. Its first mention dates back to 1436. It was probably made in Chiang Rai, where it was guarded inside a chetty for a while. It was uncovered following an enormous storm. It's the sacred talisman of the Chaksi dynasty, so it's one of the main religious activities of the reigning king to dress up the statue for every season because it cannot be touched by the hand of any other human being. In the hot season, the statue wears a diamond-studded golden tunic. In the wet season, it dons a golden robe, and in the cold season, it's dressed up in an enamel-inlaid golden dress. The miniature silver and golden trees adorning the altar are offerings by Laotian and Malay princes. The white buildings of the actual royal palace were designed by a British architect at the end of the 18th century. The structures surrounding the palace contain the coronation and reception halls, the audience hall, and rooms for private meetings. His Highness lives in the modern Chitralada Palace and uses this residence for official occasions, such as the reception of foreign ambassadors. Across from the palace, behind the former elephant stables, are the buildings of the Department of Finance, the Department of Justice, and other government agencies, and the Museum of the Royal Guard is located here as well. The Grand Palace is closed at the time of royal visits and on holidays. Flower markets are very popular all over Thailand. The hot, humid weather is very favorable for the cultivation of countless beautiful flowers. In the market, skillful women make small wreaths and garlands that are placed not only in the Buddha temples, but people also like to hang them on the rearview mirrors in cars as lucky charms. You can buy one of these at any corner near a traffic light. Here, magnificent orchids and bromelias are considered common flowers. Flowers are inexpensive and popular presents. You can see many people in the streets with splendid bouquets in their hands. Every district of Bangkok has several flower markets. The temple complex of Wat Po was built in the 16th century. This is the oldest and largest group of temples in Thailand. There are 17 gates to enter its 8-hectare area. 300 monks live here today. Legend says that King Rama I marched in through the Sanam Chai Road entrance on April 6, 1782, following the triumph of his military campaign in Cambodia. This gate is opened only on major holidays ever since, and April 6th is the day of the establishment of the Chakri dynasty. Monks restore the parts of the buildings that get damaged during the wet season with special care, and the work of the gardeners deserves the highest praise too. Mainly young couples desiring the blessing of children make a pilgrimage to the Brahmin origin shrine symbolizing male virility, located in the Western Court. The statues in the garden are from China, just like the rock garden and the waterfall. The main attraction of the Wat Po is the 46-meter-long and 15-meter-tall gigantic reclining Buddha. Believers say that Buddha will return to nirvana in this sleeping position. The huge plaster sculpture was gilded by skillful artisans, while on the smaller statues, visitors usually stick stamp-sized golden leaves. The soles of the big statue are studded with pearls in a pattern that represents the 108 good qualities of Buddha. Considering that the feet and the soles have a subordinated role in Buddhism, this method of portrayal is unusual. The clink of coins dropped into the metal trays never ceases. There's an unbelievable number of temples in Thailand, more than 20,000. Bangkok alone has over 400 of them. The architectural layout of chapels, colonnades, internal courts, and the more than 70 chedi of the temple complex have a specific meaning for Buddhists. The 20 small artificial hills of the yard with rocks from various parts of the country are not only symbols, but are also interesting geologically. Wat Po is home to the Thai Massage Center. Monks dressed in orange robes are happy to give visitors a neck, back, or shoulder massage for a small donation. The ancient science of massage is also taught at Wat Po, which also functions not only as a religious, but also as a social center and school as well, just like every Buddhist monastery. The internal chapels of Wat Po feature images of the places where Buddha's footprints were found. 2 of them are in Thailand, near Saraburi and Chiang Mai. The wealth of Wat Po is still growing with valuable presents from wealthy believers and Buddhist temples in foreign lands. The Cho Praya, the Mother of Waters, originates in the northern mountains and runs through Bangkok into the Gulf of Siam. This is the most important river of Thailand. When Ayutthaya was destroyed, General Chakri, who later became King Rama I, marked the location of the new capital in the lower bend of the river, at Thonburi. The word Bang means a settlement on water. 2/3 of Bangkok's population used to live in houses built on stilts in the water or marshes. The canals served as streets with thousands of boats gliding on them, so the name Venice of the East is not undeserved. This situation changed only in the past century due to the chaotic expansion of the city. It's still an exotic experience to get on a typical long boat on the Cho Praya and pass by the slow barges, rice-carrying boats, and water buses. Behind the impressive monasteries and simple wooden huts, skyscrapers, office and bank buildings, shopping centers, and luxury hotels rise on the horizon. But if you veer off the river onto a smaller klong, which is an artificial channel, you can still see the image that amazed the travelers of Victorian times. The father of sailor stories, Joseph Conrad, also wrote several short stories about this exotic water world. Such a boat trip is a must for every tourist who visits Bangkok. However, it's best not to look for a floating market here. The few boatmen selling cheap souvenirs are just a colorless imitation of the bustling floating market about 100 kilometers north of here. Passing by the stilt houses on the canals is like peeking into other people's homes. Locals live their everyday life unbothered by tourists in their houses that more often than not do not even have doors. Although they've started to drink bottled water, they still wash their clothes and dishes in the water of the canal, where also sewer water is released, but that doesn't keep them from going for a swim in it on hot days. The neighbors often sit in their boats and converse with the lord of the house, who's resting in a hammock on the shady terrace. There are not many signs of the new century, but there are two remarkable anachronisms here: satellite dishes and cell phones. Many temples and monasteries were built in a way that one of the backyards look over a canal. While along the wide avenues the modern metropolis is visible, the river and the klongs reveal the life of the poorer classes. There are many immigrants among the residents of the canals. The most beautiful and most typical site of the river's Bangkok section is Wat Arun, the Dawn Temple. The 140-meter-high prang, built on 3 terraces, was named after the Indian god of dawn, Aruna. The prang is none other than a square chedi built in the ancient Khmer style. The chedi is a simpler and more frequent form of stupas, but both basically contain Buddha relics and the ashes of holy monks or dignitaries. Prangs can be primarily seen in Sukhothai and Ayutthaya, in cities built on the model of the Angkor Wat in Cambodia. The Wat Arun is an amazing sight at dawn. Allegedly, General Thaksin arrived here from the besieged Ayutthaya at this early hour, and that's why the temple was given this name. But people are also drawn back to the river at sunset or when the evening lights come out. The royal barges are kept near Wat Arun. These richly carved, high-nosed barges swim out to the river on major holidays. The 43-meter-long Supanagong is the personal barge of the king. It has a gilded swan in the bow, and the king sits on a canopied throne in the middle of the boat. The 54 purple-clad rowers are directed by a stroke who sets the rhythm. Every year, on the day of the Cutting Festival, a parade of 35 boats celebrates the end of the monsoon season. At this time of year, the believers buy new clothes for the monks, and the king shows a good example. But they also have boat races, fireworks, a candle festival, flower carnival, and royal plowing ceremony. And if that isn't enough, there's a plethora of spectacular religious holidays. But the Cho Praya reveals a kaleidoscope of exciting attractions on regular weekdays as well. Chinatown, like everywhere else in the world, has a life of its own. It's interesting enough in itself, but most people go there to see Wat Tramit. The spectacle of this temple is the 3-meter-tall, 5.5-ton solid gold Buddha statue that arrived to its present place after a very adventurous journey. To protect it from Burmese attackers, Thai monks covered the sculpture in gray clay. Their efforts were successful. Very much so, since the statue was only accidentally discovered when during transportation it fell off the crane and the cracked clay revealed the gold inside. Today, this is one of the main attractions of Bangkok. There's always a crowd here. It's especially popular among the pilgrims from neighboring Asian countries. In the 14th, then later in the 18th century, Chinese people were brought to Siam and they were expected to boost the economy and trade here. Today, 2% of Bangkok's population is Chinese. Buddha was born 543 years prior to Christ, thus that is the basis for the Buddhist calendar. Not only the year is different here, but the Chinese New Year is celebrated at the beginning of February instead of January, and the celebrations last for 5 full days instead of 1. If you visit a place where Chinese people live, you can expect colorful parades, kite flying, an explosion of firecrackers, and fireworks. That's no different in Bangkok's Chinatown either. The temple complex of the Golden Mount, that is basically the size of a smaller village, is home to the largest and most valuable Buddhist library in the world. Since Ayutthaya had an artificial hill, King Rama III issued the order for the creation of another one in Bangkok as well. But that was an extremely challenging task given the muddy, boggy, loose soil, so it took 50 years to mound the 78-meter-high hill. On top of it stands the Vak Saket monastery that has a great view of the city. 318 steps lead up to the observation deck, and the view is beautiful all day with an amazing sunset. In November, the month of the most holidays, many people from the country make a pilgrimage to Vak Saket. A sea of lanterns and candles light the stairs at night. During the day, acrobats, fire eaters, snake charmers, and other entertainers put on a show, while at the foot of the stairs, they hold fairs. In the corridors of the monastery, the various representations of Buddha are the patron saints of people born on the various days of the week. But you can also see Buddha statues sculpted not by the Thai, but on the Chinese model. The sculpture of the standing Buddha was brought here from Sukhothai. His huge golden India chetty contains Buddha relics donated by Marquis Curzon, the Viceroy of India, placed here in a royal ceremony in 1898. The current king of Thailand is the extremely popular Bhumibol Adulyadej, the king with the longest reign in the Chakri dynasty. He was born in the USA in 1927 and was crowned in 1946 after his brother's death. He's an excellent jazz composer and wrote the music of the Thai national anthem. He doesn't have any actual political power, but His Highness and Queen Sirikit have significant influence and authority. In 1932, the state became a constitutional monarchy and the Democracy Monument was erected to commemorate it. Near this monument is the neoclassic building of the Palace of National Assembly, or the Parliament, built in 1907. The Marble Temple is the gem of modern Thai architecture. The walls and courtyard are covered with snow-white Carrara marble. The Thai name of the monastery is the Monastery of the Fifth King, referring to Rama V, who commissioned the building. Every Buddhist man becomes a monk at some point in his life, some just for a week, some for a whole life. The current king spent his monkhood here at the Marble Temple. All branches of Thai art are present in this eclectic group of buildings, together with various styles of Chinese, Indian, Japanese, and Tibetan architecture. Unlike the other Vats, this temple isn't surrounded by a closed wall, but an iron fence, through which you can peek into the breathtaking park. Over 50 Buddha statues of various ages and styles are on display in the colonnade, brought here from monasteries all over Thailand. The gates are guarded by 2 mythic lion statues. The numerous sculptures include works of Dwaravati, Lopburi, and Ayutthaya styles. The most notable feature of the yard is the Bodhi tree, whose seed allegedly came from the birthplace of Buddha. The monks line up for donations every morning under this 100-year-old tree. Their home is separated from the temple by a canal. The park is a real place of relaxation with fountains and meditating benches. Tourists can also take a break from sightseeing here to rest a little. In one of the pavilions, you can see drums and other authentic Thai musical instruments. You can't get a full picture of Bangkok without visiting the sites located in the greater neighborhood of the city. The Damnun Saduak is a real floating market with an amazing whirl of colors, shapes, sounds, and smells. Life on the canals is just like in Bangkok, only there's a lot more greenery here. The palm trees not only provide shade, but some people can even harvest coconuts in their own backyard. The enormous water catchment area of the rivers, due to the fertile silt carried here by the floods, is excellent for growing rice and other cultivars. More and more people choose to live in stilt houses, but not because they're poor. The area is increasingly popular among well-to-do locals and even foreigners. The atmosphere is really unique, and the nomadic lifestyle has a certain attraction too. And although the boats are not as full of extras as luxury cars, they're a lot more airy. In In the market, you'll be amazed by a typical Southeast Asian bustle of activity. Often 50 or 60 boats are maneuvering to get to buyers who are either standing on the bank or also sitting in a boat. There's nothing you can't find here. Pick some pineapples, mangoes, bananas, durians, pomelos, or rambutans from huge colorful piles of fruit, or sample the vegetables: onions, eggplants, Chinese cabbage, zucchini, or tomatoes. Others offer souvenirs: wood carvings, dipped paper, parasols, mounted butterflies, fans or tin cups, and of course, straw hats, just like those the street vendors wear. Thailand has always been famous for its handicrafts industry. Craftsmen create a plethora of beautiful objects with an excellent eye to detail, steady hands, sense of style, and unbelievable patience. They practice their art basically in the street. You can admire and buy souvenirs made of tin, silver, bamboo, lacquer, paper, and wood at the markets or in craft villages. The center of the market is at the bridge over the Klang, but you can find places to eat and drink anywhere. People have small charcoal grills even on boats, where they make chicken, fish, and prawns and serve steamed rice with it in bags. You can also have frankfurters on skewers, meatballs, and chicken breast, or get a portion of the wide selection of fresh salads. There's also a glut of fresh tropical fruits and vegetables to choose from, but camera and video fans will find a lot of chances to spend their money on their hobby, and those who love to shop, well, they won't be leaving empty-handed either. The market is open from early morning till late afternoon. It's not easy to say goodbye to this lively hustle and bustle. Not far from the floating market is the famous bridge on the River Kwai with the Death Railway running through it. Pierre Boulle described the bridge this way: "The bridge that manifested over the River Kwai appeared suddenly before him, when after climbing the most tiresome slope, so far he reached the top of a hill overlooking the entire valley. A few hundred meters below him, a light-colored ribbon spanned the river between two gigantic jungles. He could make out the perfectly geometrical grid of the beams constructing the bridge." 300,000 Asian and 60,000 English, French, Australian, New Zealand, and Dutch prisoners of war built the railway through the jungle here. The brutality of the Japanese guards, starvation, and lack of drinking water caused the death of 16,000 prisoners. The museum and cemetery set up in the former prison camp is visited not only by the relatives of the victims. By now, the partly biographical novel of Pierre Boulle has become a classic, and thanks to it, millions of people learned about the story of the bridge over the River Kwai. Towards the end of World War II, fighter jets arriving from Ceylon destroyed the wooden bridge. The bridge you can see today was built after the war, 300 meters away from its original location. When you walk through it, you can almost hear the music of the Academy Award-winning film. Elephants were included in the flag of Siam in the old days when 80% of the country was covered by rainforest. However, the area of the forest dwindled to a quarter of its size, and the often illegal hunting of elephants led to the drastic decrease in the elephant population. There are about 13,000 pachyderms in Thailand. These Indian elephants are smaller and better proportioned than their African relatives. Only Indian elephants can be tamed and used for work. Indeed, they were used in large numbers for clearing, logging, and transporting timber instead of tractors and power machines. In the north, there are still many elephants that are used as work animals. However, with the transformation of the economy, many elephants found a new job in tourism, like their handlers. Elephant shows are popular tourist spectacles in Thailand, and many visitors come here to try the special safari called elephant trekking. Elephants reproduce only under favorable conditions. The gestation period is 24 months, but the birth takes no longer than an hour. Calves can weigh 100 kilograms, and first their body is covered with thick, coarse hair that later falls out. Experts say this hair is proof that elephants belong to the same family as the now extinct mammoths. The calves are jointly raised by the females of the herd. The leader is called alpha female. The males leave the herd when they're 5 to 10 years old, but the females always stay together. The natural habitat of elephants is humid rainforests and swamps. They like to bathe and roll in the mud. The mud protects their skin from the parasites. They eat for 16 hours a day, and their body uses about 40% of the total energy they consume. Elephants living around humans have a close relationship with their handlers. They're able to remember and carry out about 30 different commands. The handler, who sits on the neck of the elephant, directs it by stimulating the sensitive skin on the back of the animal's ears with his toes. In the past, elephants were used not only for work, but for war as well. The most vulnerable body parts of these huge animals are the legs, so there used to be warriors specifically trained to protect them. In the city of Surin, old battles are reenacted during a festival every year. White elephants are extremely rare. If someone caught one, they had to surrender it to the king. The Sayok Elephant Park is on the bank of the River Kwai, 50 kilometers from the city of Kanchanaburi. Here you can try elephant riding and watch an elephant show as well. Mainly the young and playful teenage elephants like to show off. They give a Thai massage to the visitors, then ask for money and go to the store to buy some bananas. Ayutthaya is the ancient capital. It's an impressive sight to behold even in ruins. Its Khmer-style adobe temples and palaces are surrounded by a lush green park. The historical city that is listed among the UNESCO World Heritage Sites is basically a huge open-air museum in the center of a still functioning city. It was built on an island 80 kilometers from Bangkok. It's surrounded by 3 rivers, the Cho Praya, the Pasak, and the Lopburi. The architecture of Ayutthaya is reminiscent of the Khmer Palace and temple complex of Angkor Wat in the neighboring Cambodia. Behind the thick walls of Ayutthaya, 3 royal palaces and over 100 temples were built, most of which, although in ruins, are still standing. The monuments are rather far away from each other. You can go from one place to another by boat or by tuk-tuk on land. Ayutthaya was capital for 417 years. It was destroyed in 1767 in an attack by the Burmese when most of the city burnt to the ground. The capital was the economic, political, cultural, and religious center of Siam. It was founded by King Ramatibodi I, who defeated the Khmer Empire after a lengthy battle, conquered Angkor, and used it as a model for building his own capital. Even as late as the 1600s, European, mainly Dutch and French, travelers recounted enthusiastically of the splendor and wealth of the city. The Burmese army invaded Ayutthaya several times. They fought many battles on war elephants with the defenders of the city. The self-sacrificing Queen Ayutthaya, dressed as a common soldier, died in such a battle in which she saved her husband's life by throwing herself in front of a spear aimed at him. The flowers on the chetty that contains her earthly remains have not withered unto this day. In the center of the ruins stands the ancient palace, a group of palaces embellished with intricate carvings, built on the site of the destroyed royal palace. Next to it stands the Wat Phra Si Sanpit, which used to be the most important temple of the city. The chetties in its garden contain the ashes of kings. Here is the usual gallery of statues again. The sculptures are unusually small, but very elaborate and artistic. The temple has a life-sized wax figure of the widely respected leader of the monastic order, placed here on the anniversary of his death. The Buddha statues in the garden are dressed in the same saffron yellow robes that the monks, the bhikkhus, or the samaneras wear. The excavations are still ongoing. The fragments of statues discovered are continuously restored and put back in their place. A must-see for every visitor is the Buddha's head that had a very adventurous journey before it ended up where it is now. The statue piece was hidden at the foot of a tree by some Thais fleeing from the Burmese, and the roots overgrew it as a protective shield. The other big temple in the ruins is the Wat Jai Chai, which was the residence of monks returning from Ceylon. The 50-meter-tall central prang of the Wat Mahatat contains valuable Buddha relics inside. But there is an even more interesting finding, discovered by workers who were restoring the Wat Ratchaburana temple. Upon opening the crypt, they found 100,000 votive tablets. The proceeds from their sale were used to establish the Ayutthaya National Museum that has a collection of numerous valuable artifacts. But the Thai National Museum in Bangkok also has treasures from this site. Pattaya is one of Thailand's two big tourist paradises by the sea. It's a lot closer than Phuket. You can reach Pattaya in 2 hours by bus, while you have to take a plane to go to Phuket. The name of the beach resort, situated in the Gulf of Siam, means southwestern wind. The former fishing village has grown into an internationally popular resort in the last 20 years. The reason Pattaya became such a popular destination is that apart from the wet season, the climate is pleasant, the resort is safe, and it offers a load of options for entertainment and recreational activities. Due to the sudden increase in the number of tourists, the cleanliness of the beach became questionable. But all that is past. As they say, they spare no effort or expense in order to keep it meticulously clean now. The prices here are lower than at other popular beach resorts in the world. You can rent umbrellas and beach chairs for pennies, and the staff even pays attention to immediately move them as the shade moves. The water is lukewarm and shallow, and there are more activities than could fit into a regular tourist vacation. Jet skiing, surfing, water skiing, parachuting, banana boats, tennis, archery, badminton and volleyball, bowling, golf and squash, just to name a few. There are great places for diving, and those who do not want to swim in the sea can use the freshwater pools of Pattaya Park that even has a water slide in it too. Many boat trips depart from the beach, for example to the nearby Summit Island that is a nature reserve. The over 4-kilometer-long beach is full of hotels, restaurants, bars, and shops, competing to cater to the customers. In addition to Thai facilities, you can find Chinese, Indian, and European restaurants, beer pubs, and nightclubs as well. From the mobile street vendors to the largest shopping malls, here you can find everything under the sun. The lively nightlife of Pattaya is a further attraction. Pattaya Tower offers extreme excitement. There are 3 ways to come down from the tower on a wire rope. At the base, there's a monorail and an amusement park. The gorgeous Buddhist temple of Pattaya is watching over the resort from the top of a hill. The banisters along the stairs of Buddhist temples and monasteries are decorated with the twisting body of the so-called Naga snake. The 50-meter-long flight of stairs to the Pattaya temple is no different. The thought of the snake coming to life sends a chill down every visitor's spine. Well, a 50-meter-long dead specimen was caught in the River Mekong in North Thailand. So it provided tangible proof that the sculptors were inspired by a real live animal. Not only tourists admire the gilded Buddha statues, many people come here from neighboring villages to pray and to satisfy the obligations imposed on them by religious charity. They like to buy songbirds in small cages so that they can set them free. Another form of charity is donating pre-packed kits containing toiletries and cleaning supplies for monks, but they're happy to receive candles and incense as well. The Nong Nooch Tropical Garden, 15 minutes from Pattaya, is a memorable experience. It's a real botanical garden and zoo, spiced with shows and other attractions, such as a miniature version of Stonehenge. Everything related to botanics can be found here, from palm trees to cacti and rock gardens. You can ride an elephant or take a minivan to get around. The orchid and bromelia farms and tropical greenhouses are usually popular spectacles in Thailand, but the largest and most special one is Nong Nooch. Botanists and flower lovers can spend a whole day here admiring the beauty of plants and discovering newer and newer species. In addition to tropical plants, European species can also be seen in the French and English-style gardens. Water is ever present in the form of fountains, canals, or ponds. You can even take a pedalo, a paddle boat ride on the lake. A small museum adds to the number of things to see, featuring life in the country in times past, together with musical instruments and statues. You can marvel at the colorful birds and the butterflies that grow huge in the tropics. The colorful shows of Thai folklore ensembles and elephant shows provide good entertainment, but the real attraction is the petting zoo. Everywhere in the world, that means petting goats, antelopes, or zebras. But here, you can take monkeys in your hands. You can hug panthers and tigers, and you can even take a picture or make a video as proof of your courage. An entirely different spectacle is awaiting you in Mini Siam near Pattaya. In one half of the area, you can see miniature versions of famous buildings or structures of Europe and the world. There's a mini Eiffel Tower next to onion dome churches, the Roman Colosseum, Egyptian statues, and the Vienna Monument. The buildings are on display in a neat park, and the walkways wind among little ponds. You can make great strides like Gulliver and reach not only different countries, but different continents in a matter of minutes. On the other half of the area, there are miniature models of the main sites of Thailand on a 1:25 scale. You can see all the attractions of Bangkok and Ayutthaya, including the famous temples, buildings, and monuments. From here, You have a better view of the large expanse of cities and ruins, as if you were looking at them from the air. If you make this the last stop of your tourist trip, you can relive again all the magic moments you experienced in Thailand.